breaking news from NBC4.
I kind of want to vomit. I mean, that's the way I feel. I feel like that OSU got what they wanted and they won. They let this happen to us. They covered it up, they hid it, and now they fought us in court. They told the public the whole time, all the time, that we were brave and they were going to do the right thing, and it was all a lie.
Hundreds of men who say they were sexually abused by former Ohio State University Dr. Richard Strauss say they are victims tonight all over again as a federal district court judge dismisses all of their claims. Citing the statute of limitations, Judge Michael Watson dismissed the Title IX claims that accused the university of turning a blind eye to decades of abuse.
Dr. Richard Strauss was allowed to retire in 1998. He died by suicide in 2005. More than 3 years ago, a single complaint of sexual assault opened a floodgate as hundreds of men came forward.
In a series of opinions and orders released just today, Judge Watson said there is no doubt those men were victimized, but it's too late to do anything about it. Ohio State utterly failed these victims. That's part of what federal judge Michael Watson says in an opinion that also concludes it is beyond dispute that plaintiffs, as well as hundreds of other former students, suffered unspeakable sexual abuse by Strauss. Judge Watson sharply criticizes the university for turning a blind eye to the sexual assaults of young men who they should have protected. But nonetheless, because of the statute of limitations, OSU is off the hook.
This has never been about money for me. So I didn't lose that way. That's not what I care about. What I care about is that they got away with it.
For decades, victims were silent.
I would imagine there's kids out there who have committed suicide because of him, and parents never knew, family never knew why.
Steve Lee broke his silence after 37 years, after other Strauss victims confronted the Ohio State Board of Directors and were promised reform and relief.
I want to reiterate that we are dedicated to a fair outcome. To be clear, this means that Ohio State is committed to a monetary resolution.
Mediated settlements averaging $250,000 were reached for more than 200 Strauss victims, but hundreds more were holding out for bigger settlements like those received by female sexual assault victims at Michigan State and USC. The Strauss survivors also wanted OSU to publicly acknowledge fault, admit they were wrong.
They're just liars, and I don't know how they can recover from this, because they're the ones that told the public we were brave and they were going to lift us up. Go pull that from old archives. They wanted to lift the survivors up to throw us in the garbage can, which is what they just did in court.
The judge also found fault with Ohio lawmakers who he said had the power but not the will to change the statute of limitations. So plaintiffs say they were dismissed by the court, ignored by lawmakers, abused by a doctor, and failed by their university.
They're never going to live this down for their reputation. I won't let them. I'll publish a book telling everything.
And the plaintiffs tell me they will appeal this ruling. And in a statement late today, OSU said, "We are forever grateful to the survivors who participated in the independent Perkins Coie investigation, which could not have been completed without their strength and courage. And we offer our deepest regrets and apologies to all who experienced Strauss's abuse." And you remember, Carrie, the university itself paid for the investigation that showed how many people in positions of power at that campus knew what Dr. Strauss was doing.
I was checking out the court of public opinion, if you will, and seeing comments of how people are responding to this. They were, in a sense, blasting the judge, but that judge also blasted the university.
The university and lawmakers, because the judge really is kind of limited to what the law allows him to do. And the law does not allow him to ignore this statute of limitations unless lawmakers change it, which they failed to do. They had a bill pending and never considered. And the university, of course, as he pointed out, knew what was going on all those years ago and did nothing to protect these young men.
But you learned about an hour ago they do plan to file an appeal. They
will appeal. They say they will file some kind of an appeal. And of course, NBC4 has been covering this story from the very beginning. So for more information, including previous interviews with victims, you can go to NBC4i.com/coverup.